There is a primal unease we feel at the mouth of a cave. It isn't just a fear of the dark, but a specific anxiety about the ground immediately beneath our feet, an environment that is entirely alien to our experience on the surface. Look at this 19th century cross-section. Humanity has spent millennia mapping the cosmos and oceans, but our planet's interior remains a massive blank spot. Today, we've only scratched the first few miles of crust. Everything else, this dark area labeled here, is unreachable. This vast, unreachable void has long been a magnet for obsession. Ancient cultures spoke of hidden kingdoms like Agartha, but by the mid-1800s, this grew into the hollow Earth theory, a supposedly scientific proposal that the planet was a series of concentric shells containing hidden suns and civilizations. These theories flourished during the exact era that the surface of the globe was being systematically mapped and categorized. As the unknown parts of our world disappeared from the surface, the interior of the globe became the last reservoir for the monsters and mysteries we could no longer place on our maps. In 1864, Jules Verne transformed this obsession into his masterpiece, Journey to the Center of the Earth. It remains the definitive text on our need to find a frontier where one shouldn't exist. His protagonists are the embodiment of the Victorian scientific mindset. They enter the abyss armed not with weapons, but with tools like this Admiral Fitzroy barometer. They believe that with enough precise measurement, they can rationalize and conquer the subterranean void. The journey begins at the crater of Mount Sneffels, an extinct volcano in Iceland. As they step over the rim and descend into the mist, they aren't just leaving the sunlight, they are leaving the world where their surface-level logic is guaranteed to work. This descent becomes a true psychological crossing. By moving into the unmapped interior, the characters are trading a measured, predictable reality for an environment that has no obligation to follow their rules. As the explorers drop deeper, the physical reality of the descent becomes a crushing weight. They are conscious of every mile of rock and ocean suspended directly over their heads, a physical pressure that begins to strain their resolve. At first, they cling to their instruments. They meticulously record temperature and calculate the geological strata, using their data as a shield against the growing isolation. As long as they can categorize the rock, they feel they are still in control. That control shatters when Harry takes a wrong turn. He finds himself lost in a labyrinth of pitch-black tunnels, miles below the surface. His light flickers and eventually dies, leaving him in a silence so profound he can hear his own heartbeat. Without his companions or his tools, Harry experiences a total collapse of reason. The darkness is so absolute that he loses his sense of direction and identity, eventually falling into a state of screaming delirium as he rushes blindly through the rock. In this environment, the scientific detachment his uncle relies on provides no protection. When stripped of light and landmarks, the sophisticated logic of the surface world is replaced by a desperate, visceral struggle to exist in the dark. When Harry finally reunites with his uncle, they emerge into a landscape that defies every geological theory they brought with them. They stand on the shore of a vast central sea, contained within a granite vault and illuminated by a pale, shimmering electric aurora. The physical rules of the surface don't apply here. The atmospheric pressure is so high it keeps clouds floating miles high in the cavern, and their compass begins to spin in erratic circles, rendered useless by the magnetic interference of the deep earth. As they explore the shore, they find that history has also been reversed. They discover a landscape of giant prehistoric ferns, and soon they even see living monsters from the secondary period fighting in the waves. They also find the bones of extinct creatures, like the megatherium shown on this chart. The most disturbing discovery is a field of human remains. These bones are mingled in the same sedimentary layer as the mastodons and reptiles. The linear timeline they learned in school has been flattened into a single chaotic pile of dust. Verne's Hollow Earth acts as a physical archive where the logic of the surface collapses. Here, the explorers stand over a shared grave of prehistoric beasts and human ancestors, forced to confront a version of history where man and monster occupy the same dark space. Even after witnessing these wonders, the explorers attempt to force the Earth to yield. When they find a blocked passage, they decide to use gunpowder to clear the way, hoping to reach the very center of the globe. The Earth responds with a violent rejection. The explosion triggers a volcanic reaction, trapping their raft on a rising column of boiling water and magma. They are no longer explorers. They are debris being swept up by a highly pressurized surge. The ascent is driven by hundreds of atmospheres of accumulated subterranean pressure. The heat becomes so intense the rafts begin to glow, and the velocity of their raft makes breathing almost impossible. They are eventually vomited out of the ground through the crater of Mount Etna in Sicily. They are thrown forcefully back into the sunlight and the blue skies of the Mediterranean, thousands of miles from where they started. The deep Earth actively resists conquest. Every attempt to measure, blast, or categorize the interior is met with a violent expulsion, as if the unknown itself is pushing back against the reach of human reason. Once they return to the surface, the explorers realize their scientific data is entirely unproven. Because their compass was broken for half the journey, they can't verify their map or prove exactly where they were. Their instruments failed them at the most critical moment. This leaves us with a lingering question. Why, in an age of total satellite coverage and GPS, do we still find the idea of a secret world beneath our feet so compelling? We cling to this myth because a completely known world offers no room for wonder. We require an inaccessible frontier, a place where the rules of our daily lives don't apply, and where mystery is still possible. The hollow Earth isn't a physical place we will ever map. It is a psychological sanctuary, a sealed vault where we keep our sense of awe and our monsters safely hidden, just beneath the reach of our modern world.